everything is set here. What's going on, everybody? So let's just check in. Todd, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
There we go. There we go. Sorry about the little audio issue there, guys. Welcome. I'm here with Todd Freeman. He's hosting the International Video Game Hall of Fame induction process. This is actually an induction process. I don't want anyone to think that like we're actually inducting people. Actually, not an induction process, a nomination process. I'm sorry, so that we can have inductees later on. And we're here via our stream. Empire Arcadia
I,
stream was being used to actually guest host this, so you can check out this. Actually, it's being streamed on the IFGHOF Twitch channel. You guys can check that out there. What's the channel for the IFGHOF again? Oh yeah, IFGHOF.
it's just pretty much IFGHOF, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
Yep.
so and so I'm a special guest with my nice Tumwa Video Game Capital World hat, and I'm here with Todd, and we're going to discuss the nomination process actually, where you guys get to join in and nominate gamers over the span of about 60 years in the video game industry as a whole, and their games to be then processed through the International Video Game Hall of Fame Committee, which will then determine who gets inducted into the class of 2019. You have any words for them, Todd?
No, I'm looking for everyone to spread the word as much as they can
Hmm.
via social media, and we're going to try to get as many nominations we can across the world, not just the United States, but any other countries are welcome to nominate. But we're trying to get a good crowd and a good spreading the word of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, which is in Ottumwa, and we're trying to make it more broad so that other individuals can know about it and get larger every year.
Well, this is good. Which brings us to what the importance and the history of it. But I think before we get into actually, I think we should get into the importance of this so
Yeah,
that everyone understands what it's actually about, so that they be more encouraged and inspired to actually get into the process of like nominating people. So, um, the IFGOF. Let's go
right.
as far back as hmm, I think we're waiting for our guest call because I don't know if you know, but we're gonna have Walter call in later
Yep.
on, about 45 minutes in, and he can give you like the real history, like the like
Yeah.
going way back. But we'll start it off at 2010, the Big Bang, right?
Right.
And
But
the Big Bang inducted about 30 to 40 something players and industry leaders. So we're talking about like stuff that happened with like the people who make the games, the people who produce the games, and the people who play the games. And I think it's important for people to understand the difference between the International Video Game Hall of Fame in terms of the IFGOF
hmm
versus other branded video game Hall of Fames. And
right,
I don't want to put down the other video game Hall of Fames because
right,
that's not what this is about. But it's important for people to understand the difference between the International Video Game Hall of Fame. The International Video Game Hall of Fame is its entire core is built on the people. The video games are the context, but no, yeah, the content, but the
right,
people who play them are the context, and it's important for people to actually understand which one is which.
hmm
Where other video game Hall of Fames focus a little bit more on the actual game, the commercial aspect of it, the industrial aspect of it, and the people who make them, which they definitely deserve to be talked about because without them, we would have had nothing. But at
right,
the same time, when you look at the competitive stance of it in terms of games being played, like you look at a game like Fortnite. Fortnite is what it is, obviously, first and foremost, because the people made the game. If they didn't make the game, no one would have really cared about Fortnite. But the reason why people know about the game is because the large amount of people that play the game. And that is the
right,
context that puts the game out there. The players are literally the advertising tools. If a new video game comes out and the player base, your audience who is playing the games, say your game is great, then the game is great and everybody knows about it. So
Hmm.
to a degree, the players are more important than the developers. Although the developers are relatively important. In fact,
Right.
they have a huge significance. But if Miyamoto made Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong and we did not play the game, if we didn't embrace the game by playing it, no
Right.
one would have known, no one would have cared.
Right.
It'll just be another game that came out and it just and we I'm both of you and I are over our 40s. We both know that there are many great games that have come in and have not gotten the recognition because not enough people played it,
Right.
and without those people playing it and getting out there, no one knows. So
Right.
there are a lot of people who know that wow, this is a rare gem, but if the audience does not play the game and recognize the game and validate the game, it just gets missed. So
Hmm.
although the producers, the designers, the developers have a major significance importance to it, it is the players that determine whether or not a game actually is where it is. And because of that, the International Video Game Hall of Fame focuses on that. It focuses on the players. At the same time, it gives respects to the producers, the designers,
Hmm.
and the creators of the games, and recognizes the actual games themselves. So
Right.
we need people to understand that's what the International Video Game Hall of Fame is about. It's for the players, by the players, literally, and it is the players that actually make it. So this is why we are inviting everyone, all the gamers out there, to be a part of this because the IFGOF belongs to you as well.
Right.
And it's important that for you guys to get involved in the nomination process. So can you talk to us more about the nomination process, Todd?
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. So I was going to talk a little about Walter can go into more detail, but as you were saying, in 2010 is really where the Hall of Fame, International Video Game Hall of Fame, debuted, if you want to call it. That was
Yeah.
when it first was opened up to nominations, and there was a committee. There was a different group at that time that held it, but there was a nomination process, and people were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. And so that was really where it began. And the plan was to do it every year. And just based on the change of management and the change of the people that were running it, it did kind of fade away for a few years. But it did come back in 2015 and 16. And then again last year or 2 years ago in 17 and 18, we have new management, which is the current management, which is where we want to be right now. In terms of a committee, we want to have a solid, uh, stable uh, committee that will take this to the next level every year. So basically, we have a committee that we had about 2 months ago that we started, where we designed the form from scratch and um, went over all the details, went over all the entry forms that would need to be filled out for everybody, making sure we cover the games, the gamers, the developers. We have a Walter Day Achievement Award every year, so we wanted to make sure that was covered. So basically, there was a website out there called ivgof.info. So if you go to ivgof, ivghof.info, you can see the form at the top of the homepage, and you can download it, email it, fax it, or you can fill it out right on the website and submit it. You can vote as many times as you want. You can vote for as many different categories as you want. But I think this is the start of something really good because I think in the past it was kind of a little messy and there wasn't a structure. So we got a good committee of past inductees, developers, um, gamers, and local Atumwa uh, residents that we've put together to make this probably one of the you know most official forms we've had since we started this.
Okay. The nomination. When you said people can, so when a person wants to actually vote, they go to the ifgolf.info and
Correct.
there they can they literally get a chance to actually look and actual vote right there and then. This is
Correct.
correct. Oh, okay, cool. Because
Yes.
I actually want to do this live here. Let's take a
Sure.
look. I want to actually, so we're going to
It's
go,
ready to go.
uh, let's see, so we everyone can actually get a chance to see. This is
Hmm.
ifghof.info, right?
Correct.
All right, so we're gonna switch over to here and take a look at this as it's loading. Okay, so it just loaded up.
Hmm.
So we are here at the info and we're at the home page.
Yep.
So to do inductions, we would find them. Okay, this is a
So
history.
so at the top of the homepage, there should say IFGHOF
Yeah,
best.
I'm looking right at it
Yep.
like an idiot, and
The
I'm like,
first
huh?
one.
Okay,
Yep.
simply click here to nominate online or by mail. Wow.
Right.
Okay, so we click this.
Click the blue button. Correct.
It is loading.
Yep. And then you will get a actual it's a new site with the pretty much the instructions
hmm
and the categories on what you're voting for. So it's a description of each category
hmm
based on year and based on description. And then there's also a few games that you can vote for. So once you go through the categories, there's another blue button to download the form via like a PDF where you can fill it out and
Email
email
it.
it.
Ah, I
Or
see.
yeah, or if I think 90% of the people most likely, in technology nowadays, you just do it on the website. It's probably a lot easier. But if you want to do it later, or if you want to email up to be more private and secure, you can do it that way. But the form is right here at the bottom. You can fill out the nominee.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the person's email address for the nominee, you can provide it. When we had our meeting, we were trying to get as much information of the nominee as possible. Now, not everyone's going to know personal information about nominees, but if you do have it and you want to enter that in, you're more than welcome to. But if you see the little red asterisks, those are ones that are absolutely required to fill out the form. So, so basically, you need the name, the category, uh, your name, as well as your email address that you're submitting it, and your signature at the bottom. So basically, just your name again, typed out.
See, I clicked the nomination form. I got the physical form here on
Yes.
this screen.
Yep.
So we're looking at the actual form. It shows everything in. So we're
Yep.
going over. This is the one that a person actually would print out, sign, and actually mail in or email, correct?
Correct. So yes, no, I'm looking at the form as well. So basically, it's
Mm.
almost like a printout version of the web nomination form. So there's spaces to fill in everything that you need uh, to get the nomination submitted. And again,
Okay.
you can. So the email address is also, it should be on the form here, but you can email it to ivgoff@gmail.com. So if you want to submit it via email, we have a kind of a general email box that you can send them to.
All right. So let's go over the categories then. So we have the
Correct.
categories here, and
Hmm.
this is Golden Age Gamer. So obviously we're going to start with the people before the games, right? The Golden Age
Yes.
Gamer. So this is gamers ranging from 1970 to 1989,
Correct.
and that's like the video game players whose accomplishments occurred primarily within that era of the 70s to the 80s, right? And
That is
that
correct.
so the golden age, I would call that the classic, the old school gamers, right? So that's what they
Right.
pretty much are, right? And then you have the 1990s gamer, right? From 1990 to 1999, video game players' accomplishments within that era. I would call that the mid school. That's the mid school age. And
That
then
is
you have
right.
the
Yep.
2000s to the present, and gamers whose accomplishments happen, and that would be the new school.
The
And
new millennium,
or
the
yeah,
millennials.
the millennium, yeah,
Yeah.
the millennium gamers, right?
Yes.
So, and then obviously you would have then you have the game developer,
Right.
right, honoring individuals who have shaped the history of the global electronic circuit, right?
Right.
And then I'm sorry, global electronic gaming industry. I said circuit. I don't know why I thought of that. Through the historic games creations and technological innovations, and then you have the industry leader, honoring individuals who have inspired the growth, vitality, and prosperity of the global electronic gaming industry through their business, wisdom, and creative vision. Now, I'm just going to put this out there right now.
Sure.
So, Trifle's going to kind of cheat a little bit right
Okay.
now with a bias. So, Rezi Filzame is retiring next month.
I did know that. Yes.
Yes, so as an industry leader, Reggie is going on there for me, and I am over here trying to get everybody vote Reggie
That's a great nomination. Yeah. That's a
because
brilliant.
Reggie deserves it.
Yep.
He put in that work 15 years,
Yep.
almost 2 decades. He held it down for Nintendo. So Reggie Fils-Aimé definitely got you on this nomination. Okay, so moving forward now we have the games, and it pretty much copies more like the people. So you have the golden age, and there's
Right.
1970s to 89s, the 90s era, 1990 to 99, and then 2000.
Hmm.
And I have I wonder what games I'm going to nominate for that, because
Yeah.
yeah, the
All
tw-
Nintendo.
you,
So yeah, I was going to say, but so basically, so for people to understand, these are the years the game was released. Because some people, when we had the committee meetings, we
yeah.
noticed that some games were developed in like the late 80s, but they didn't get released to Japan or US till the early 90s. So this is when the games are released to the public. This,
That was smart. That's smart to
yeah,
have it as based on its release, the actual date
right,
it's released. So
correct,
there'll be no issues regarding that. So
right.
let us go back here, and we have the special awards. Community Action Award.
Hmm.
Community action changes people's lives for the better. Embodiment embodies the spirit of hope and improves communities. The recipient of this award has demonstrated the dedication to that purpose.
Yeah,
In the 20 last year
yep,
at IFGHOF, Extra Life won this award.
yeah, much deserved. Well,
Yes,
for them too. Yeah.
yeah, they
So
definitely
yeah,
deserve
there's a
that.
lot of there's a lot of community charities out there. There's a lot of online sites that you can raise money. There's a lot of good people out there that are in the community, and we wanted to make sure they're noticed with an award and a Hall of Fame nomination.
All right, and then you have the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award, and I really want to go over this award real quick with everybody. So,
Sure.
in the Big Bang was like the universe of the International Video Game Hall of Fame
Yeah.
gave birth. Walter Day was present for this, and
Hmm.
like any Hall of Fame or like football, you have the Vince Lombardi Trophy. In the NBA, you have the James Naismith Trophy, and these are like the pioneers, the people like the fathers
Yeah.
of those particular things. And when we talk, when we talk about what video games have, what competitive gaming has done, and what Twin Galaxies has done for competitive gaming, to where what we have now as esports. Like Walter Day is like the father of esports. I've always been pushing this since I've known the man,
Yeah.
and it, you know, I thought that in the Big Bang year that Walter Day was literally gonna get at least nominated into the Hall of Fame as an
Right.
inductee. And when they went through all of the players in the class and everything,
Right.
Walter was not nominated. And I was like, what? That's crazy. How can you not nominate?
Right.
And then they came out of nowhere and they said, now we have a special award to bring to the stage.
Right.
And we have the uh, Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award. And the first Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award went out to Walter Day. And that was a special moment for me
Yep.
because as a pioneer, Walter literally spent his life, literally,
Right.
on doing what he did to put down the infrastructure that we now know as esports today.
Hmm.
So he definitely deserved that award, and that award is actually, as we go over this, this award honors individuals that have served the electronic gaming industry over the course of a long career, enriching the industry with their contributions, strong leadership, and creative vision. And when you say this, man, that's the
That's
embodiment
impressive.
of what that literally describes Walter Day.
Yep.
So it's like
Exactly.
this literally describes Walter Day. So the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award is like the game. First of all, the gamer in me is like, before I die, I have to get that award. So I'm gonna do
Yeah.
everything under that criteria to make
Yep.
sure that before I go, I get a Walter Day Lifetime Achievement. If I get the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award, if God says, Triforce, it's time to go, I'll be like, I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm ready to go. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. Well, my wife is looking at me like, what? But this is after we have kids and all that other stuff. So
Right.
we're good.
You're talking 40 years from
We're
now or
talking like
something.
40 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Well, the other thing too is, and you were mentioning, hoping that he was, nominated. But to be honest, for those who know Walter like we do, he doesn't like to be in the limelight. He likes to stay behind the scenes, and he wants to honor
Mhm.
everyone else. So he's very he's a very he's not stubborn. He's basically someone who is honored to be a part of the whole thing. He doesn't need awards. He doesn't need acclimates, although he deserves them. But yeah, this award was definitely, no question, something we put on the nomination form that we need every year.
And I'm glad because he actually deserves. He really does deserve this.
Oh yeah.
Honestly speaking, he really does deserve it. So, but let us
Yeah.
go back to this.
Well, I was going to say too, just for those
Yeah.
who weren't at the event last year or did not know, but last year's inductee for the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement was David Crane, who created
Yes.
many many famous Atari games, among others, after his career. But games like Pitfall or Freeway were just one of his main games that he designed. But he was definitely a well-deserved Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award winner, and he was very honored. We were honored to have him be present in Ottumwa. He came to accept his award, so it was pretty cool.
Yes, and that it's great to see when people can actually attend the actual International Video Game Hall of Fame
Yeah,
and accept their awards. Sometimes it's actually out of people's way due to scheduling. So
sure.
some people just unfortunately won't be able to show up. It depends. Some gamers are the Hall of Fame is held on a weekend when they have a tournament. Like for instance,
Yep,
like Justin Wong,
yep,
for last year, he was at an actual video game tournament during the Hall of Fame, but
yep,
or an industry guy like Steve Wozniak, he was not able to. He was inducted. He wasn't able to appear, but
right.
they were able to send in video confirmation
Yeah,
and acceptance to that. So it's good to see that they actually are committed to that. And then they say,
yeah,
you know something.
yeah. We were really honored for having Justin and Steve to send us a video. That was really nice of them to do that.
So so there's either way, it just goes to show you these are the people that actually make the scene what it is. And
Hmm.
even if they can't attend it, they actually still they still actually contribute to the Hall of Fame in some way, sending their
Yeah.
congratulations and sending their thanks. So you
Hmm.
got to give it to those guys for that. But let's go over here. We got. I want to cover something about this. I think this is the most important part here. The
Okay.
general criteria. Now,
Okay.
a lot of people may be asking, well, what's the criteria in actually getting into the Hall of Fame? Can
Hmm.
anyone just get in? And fortunately, no, not anyone can just get in. There's certain guidelines that are
Hmm.
needed. And when we're looking at here for the gamers, in order for a gamer to get into the International Video Game Hall of Fame, it is based on, I'm going to read this backwards.
Sure.
It's based on your skill. So obviously your skill has to showcase how good you are. It's based on you as and based on your integrity as a person,
Yep.
and it's based on your sportsmanship. It is very important to note something here, though, because I want other people to understand. Because we live in a different age and time, so there may be gamers out there who are looking at those three things: sportsmanship, integrity, and skill, and they may go, man, depending on how a circle, people within their circle, or a certain audience, or
Hmm.
Reddit group, or whatever the case may be, may hinder them. This is what I like about the International Video Game Hall of Fame. I thought, based on the reputation that I had from the quote unquote fighting game community or stuff like that, that
Hmm.
would actually hinder me from getting into the Hall of Fame because I have people that don't agree with me, and I have people that it's not even I can deal with people not agreeing with you, but
Right.
people who go out of their way to try to actually sully my name or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
And the thing I like about the Hall of Fame, it's not an echo chamber. The Hall of Fame isn't influenced by other entities or public opinion. The Hall
Right.
of Fame does its own independent research, and it the Hall of Fame judges your integrity or your character or your sportsmanship based on the facts, not
Correct.
what the public thinks.
Hmm.
So if you're out there and you feel that you're like you have a bad name out there or whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. The Hall of Fame will do its own due diligence, independent of everyone else, irrespective of anyone else, to
Yep.
be able to induct you. So gamers, don't feel that you don't have a shot at it. The Independent Hall of Fame is not influenced by anybody, and I love its sovereignty and I love its independence. That's why I respect it, because
Yep.
we live in an age where uh, 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 any particular group or a set of people that have an agenda, you know, you could be innocent of something, but if the
Hmm.
masses say you're guilty, then you're
Right.
guilty. Like we live in some
Right.
type of Orwellian society or whatever.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter if you're actually innocent. It's what the people think. No,
Yeah.
it's not like that. So,
Yeah. It's scary. And basically, I mean,
mhm,
any other sport, if you could think of baseball, basketball, hockey, anything where people are inducted to the Hall of Fame, you're always going to have your naysayers. You're always going to have some negative comments, but
mhm.
the majority of the people that get inducted, I should say all of them that get inducted into the Hall of Fame, are well deserved based on their background and their integrity and their sportsmanship.
Mhm.
We also, I won't get into too many details. We're still working on it, but basically, our committee is coming up with kind of like a vetting system and like a code of ethics to make sure that whoever's nominated, that these people meet the criteria. Uh, you know, there could be someone that is very, very well known or well um, respected in the industry, but they have to meet this criteria. It's very important to us to keep that stable, to make it a good community of Hall of Famers.
Well, from the gamer's point of view, I like I said, I love the fact that they have this because, based on those criterias,
Mhm.
it'll bring in the good, but it'll keep out the bad.
Right,
Okay, so let's move on to the developers. The developers are based on their body of work and the innovations.
right.
So in the past, Satoru Iwata from Nintendo, he was inducted, and I remember him being inducted, and I know that there's other classes of guys and stuff like that. So I like the fact that they did this. David Crane,
Yep.
well, actually, David Crane got the Lifetime Achievement Award, but it was Warren Davis, the creator
Yes.
of Qbert,
Yes.
that got this award for the developers. So that's
Hmm.
definitely great. And we all know Qbert has a legacy in the
Yeah.
video game industry. In fact, Qbert appeared in Wreck-It Ralph. I didn't get to see Wreck-It Ralph 2, and that came out
Yeah.
last year. I was really disappointed. Did you get to see it?
I did get to see it in the theater, and coincidentally, I just got back from a trip to Florida, and they were playing it on the airplane, so I got to see it a second time.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Is Qbert in the part two?
No, not no. Very briefly, like in the background. He's not a
Oh,
major part. No.
okay. But he makes a
Um,
cameo. He makes a
he
cameo.
makes a cameo.
All
Yeah,
right.
Sonic, Qbert, and a few others make cameos. They didn't put Mario in, and I know you were really upset about that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my, come on, Nintendo. Let's
I know.
come on, man. Wreck-It Ralph 3. You can't
I
drop the ball
know.
3 times, man.
I did want to say too that Warren Davis is one of our committee members, so he was nice enough to take up some time to help us out with the committee, and he's a really good asset to our group that gives us good insight on these categories and criteria. So Warren's a great guy.
Well, definitely. Okay, so let's move on here. So games. Now the games are based on popularity and
Right,
historical significance.
right.
So popularity speaks for itself, but historical significance, what do
Hmm.
you think that means?
Well, I mean, basically, so this is a tough one that we talked about for a long time, and
Mhm.
we basically, there's games that sell millions and millions of dollars, and
Yeah.
sure, they're great games, and people play them for a few months and whatever. but there are certain games that stick with someone for generations. Zelda's, one of the big ones, and obviously
Mm.
Mario again, even Final Fantasy. Those games, they're just they live on from generation to generation. So
Oh,
that's
so like this year nomination, another
mhm.
wink wink should be Tetris because like they dropped
Uh-huh.
Tetris 99. So and
Yes.
Tetris 99 has massive historical come on, you can't even question that. It's the historical
It's it's
significance
it's
is
it's actually
ridiculous.
a pretty fun game. That was a brilliant game. I play that all the time.
So definitely, for all those
Well,
who are nominating, wink wink, let's get that Tetris nomination
yeah.
in process, guys.
I mean, and Tetris has been around it forever, and almost every system, and even cell phones.
Yeah,
That game has just been on everywhere. So
it's been
yeah, that's a
it's
good one.
it's been everywhere. And any
Yeah,
device you now know now or hereafter device, you will
yeah,
see a Tetris game.
yeah. I even have a Tetris Jenga set. They make a Jenga Tetris.
That's crazy. All right.
So
So what else we have here? We have community action.
yeah,
And community action is affecting positive change in their community. So that's pretty much
yeah,
uh,
yeah. We were trying to figure
self-explanatory.
out a nice way to word it, but it's pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, you would know that if you're nominating a community action award, it's going to make a big difference in someone's life and in a community, and not just a town, but a state or a country even. So,
Hmm.
like Extra Life last year. I mean, they're no doubt one of the biggest ones out there to raise money for charities across the world. But there's so many others. So this is a really good category.
All right, and then last but not least, which we already went over. This is the Lifetime Achievement Award,
Yeah,
long-term impact on the video game industry. We gave an example of the Lifetime Achievement Award in Walter Day himself, which is why it's named after Walter Day because of his lifetime contribution in
right.
the actual scene. So it goes on to say the submitter may nominate any number of nominees to as many categories as they like. Nominees may be from any country and must be notable players, developers, video games, and industry leaders. Nominees may be excluded from the consideration based on the International Video Game Hall of Fame codes of ethics,
Right, which I
uh,
was discussing earlier. Yeah.
which you had mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Is there a place where someone can find out the actual code of ethics publicly that someone can look up online, or is that something that can be available to the
That
public?
Yeah, that will be probably posted most likely tomorrow or Friday on the website. We just need to tweak a few things and get the approval from our steering committee to post it to the public. But it's pretty much done, and it has a lot of good criterias to maintain. I could pull it up. I could give you some examples if we have a few minutes. I'll pull it up for you here.
Yeah, if you
Uh,
could pull it up, that would be great. While
yeah,
you're pulling that up, let me read this last part here. It says the nomination deadline for the class of 2019 induction is April 30th,
right.
2019. So literally, just a little bit over 30 days. You have a month. Everybody has.
Yeah,
We literally have an entire month to make this nomination, which is good.
yeah,
30 plus days, no one can really complain about that, and
yeah,
so forth. So, what do you have for
yeah.
us on some of the ethics?
Okay, so
Hmm.
so basically, I won't go over them all, but some of the main, some of the ones that stick out. They shall conduct themselves with respect towards others in such a ways as to reflect the highest standards of professionalism, honesty, and integrity. Another one is they shall conduct themselves in such a manner as to not to discredit the organization either directly or indirectly. There are some, IFGOF haters out there, and it's just not, it's something we don't want to promote in our Hall of Fame
Hmm.
community.
How can you have a IFGOF hater? Like that's like hating the fabric of the very scene you're in. That's like
I
saying I hate reality, I hate life, huh?
Yeah,
How about
I,
you're living?
I think from my experience, it's a lot of people who think they deserve to get in, but it's only been going on a few years, and it's
Mhm.
not to say they won't get inducted, but it seems to be the people that think they should have been in on 2010 in the inaugural year. But you know You can
I've
only
I,
have
I've I've had some people tell me, Triforce, you're great, you're this, you're that. How come you were? This was back in like 2011. How come you didn't get
right.
inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And well, there's a level of humility that you should just have for yourself. One, um, the International Video Game Hall of Fame, as you said, is young. So
Yes.
this is for all the guys out there, right? Let's see if we could try to communicate with them so that you guys can get an understanding, right?
Hmm.
You guys have to understand that there are people that came long before you. The scene, the video game industry or the
Right.
video game universe that we're in now is based off of these gamers, these developers, these producers, these designers. And we're talking about 60 years worth. So, although it
Yep.
says 1970 to whatever, that's for like the gamers because the gamers really came around or was really introduced around in the 70s. But when
Sure.
they're talking about like the designers, the developers, the producers, in the first year, Ralph Baer was
Yeah.
inducted in, and he's
Yep.
not from the 70s. He's from the 60s.
Right.
Video
He's
games, video games started in the late 40s, if you want to really count the
yep.
that missile program game or whatever,
Hmm.
or if you for others 1952. So we're talking about the 50s to 2019. You have
Hmm.
to allow the International Video Game Hall of Fame many years, perhaps 2 or 3 decades, to catch up, and
Exactly.
it's gonna take a while. I said to when I said earlier I want a lifetime achievement award. I feel I deserve it based on my work I have already done. But
Hmm.
realistically speaking, there are people who have done my work more plus more times that extra cheese, then put the cherry on top, but
Yeah.
long before me. So we're talking about um like you said, 40 years before
Yeah.
I may actually even see a Lifetime Achievement Award. But that's just
Right.
something that comes with the territory. And you guys have to understand that it takes time. And although you're deserving for it, there are other people just like you who are deserving. So this is why
Right.
the International Video Game Hall of Fame has a committee, it has a
Yep.
board, and
Yep.
they have to go through and they based on how they nominate, how they vote, and whatever it is, everyone's going to come in. The more we support the Hall of Fame, it changes. It's not necessarily the same all the time. In the first year for the gamers, they brought in like I think 20 to 30 gamers that was being inducted in the
Right.
Big Bang, and it
Yeah.
had to be that way because it's the Big Bang. They have to
Yep.
try to catch up on as much time as possible.
Hmm.
The following was 2015, and I
Yep.
think they had like one gamer per category. But in 2016, my class, they had 2 gamers per category,
Right.
depending on what it is. Then 2017, I think it was like 1 or 2 gamers for the classics, but one in the modern. So these things change all the time, and you got to give the IFGHOF a chance to
Yeah.
develop to find what's the perfect or as close to perfect system
Right.
for the IFGHOF to be inducting people. So everybody needs to give it some time. Don't rush
Yep.
it. You know, your time will come as long as you're doing the right thing, as long as you guys are contributing to the scene and you
Hmm.
guys are promoting it. Everything should be good. But
Yeah. Like I
go
like
on.
I
I'm sorry.
said, I mean, in the early times, there
Mhm.
was many different committees, different people running it, and that's why there's so many differences in the years. But
That's true.
I
That's
can tell
true.
you
That.
this personally that
Hmm.
the committee that I'm on and that I help with
Hmm.
is dedicated to keep this up for many years to come. So this is going to be it'll be even better. It'll be more stable. It'll be consistent every year after year. So you know what you're getting yourself into when you nominate, when you get inducted. Um, and, eventually our future plans is even to have the ceremonies in other parts of the countries or states other than Atumwa.
Hmm.
We'd like to make this more, Atumwa is the video capital of the world, but video game capital of the world. But we want to make sure that it's recognized by people who can't get to Atumwa maybe sometimes. So um, farther down the line, we're even thinking more extensive of doing it in other countries. For instance, we were talking to Phil Day in Australia, who's a Galaga world record holder, and we're talking to other people from other countries of doing it in their country. So we are making a lot of ground based on this past year of this nomination process.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because just want to put this out there. There are a lot of people who are under the impression that the board of the IFGHOF in 2010 is the same um,
Right.
board that's in 2019. They don't understand that actually
No.
in the last 2 or 3 years that the board has like virtually been completely revamped. A
Yep.
lot of the people are not, there's probably like one or two people from the old board there, but it's a brand new committee. And a
Right.
lot of people, if anyone knew about the 35th anniversary of the Twin Galaxies celebration, that it was passed over to the people in Atumwa as a whole.
Right.
And these are the people who grew up in
Right.
Atumwa. They watched the gaming age mature to what it is. They were there for the Life magazine. They worked
Yep.
in the arcade with Walter and the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
Um, so,
Yeah, and we
yeah.
still still have a handful of people from the original committees
Mm.
that have ran it the last 2 or 3 years. But now we have a more solid nomination and vetting committee, and we have a steering committee, and it's going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the nominations and who wins this year.
Can you get real briefly because
Hmm.
I want to actually call in a special guest for the show.
Sure.
Can you give briefly or the reason why the actual nomin like the why the committee came about?
Yeah. So for my personal experience, for those who don't know, I've been a part of the Hall of Fame since 2010, the Big Bang. I've volunteered my time to help out with the slideshow presentation and just to, just give, as much volunteer time as I can to it. I like to be a part of everything in Atumwa. Um, so that's what I did last year. But when I was talking to Jerry, who's the kind of the committee chairman who is in charge of the whole group, who lives in Iowa,
Mhm.
um, he uh, he sat down with us last year and said we need a solid group of people to consistently make this work. They last year, as smooth as it looked and it seemed, there was only two or three people that ran that whole thing the whole year, and they did an outstanding job for just three people. But they knew they needed more help, and they knew it needed to be divided into committees, so it wasn't a free for all. So that's how it came about, and people volunteered, and we did lose we had a bigger group. We lost a couple people just based on their time; they couldn't commit, and we lost some people who just weren't into the scenario we were doing. But they're still part of our group and our family, and they'll be there for the Hall of Fame. And yeah, so our committee could get bigger next year. It's open to whoever wants to help, but for right now, this is our solid group, about 6 or 7 people we have.
Well, I'm glad that you guys have broken things up into different committees and stuff like that
Yeah,
as a whole because the voting, the vetting committee, managing the votes instead of the board. There originally it was the board that was handling
right,
the actual voting, but now it's an
right.
independent committee from the board because there are people out there who literally believe that a certain set of people on the board is the one that's doing it. And
Hmm.
I just wanted to put it out there that no, you're wrong. That's not the case.
Yeah,
Things have changed significantly.
and I think a big addition to this year and going forward is the online submission. So I think that's going to give us a lot more people to be able to nominate and be able to have visibility of the form. And literally, it should take a couple minutes. If you have an idea, if you have a nomination, just fill out the form and hit submit, and you're all done. And we're going to do the rest. So I really hope people will get out there and vote.
Okay, so before we go to our special guest, I just want to let everybody know, everybody that's in the chat that's talking, that's actually asking questions, we're going to get your questions. We want to bring a special guest on, and then before we close this nomination invitation, we'll go over some of you guys' questions, and Todd and I will try to answer as best as possible. But we're going to give it a try here. Let's see if this works, right? Todd, you unfortunately won't be able to hear this on my end because I'm calling from Facebook. Even well, whether
Okay.
I call from Facebook or Skype, you want to be able to hear it. But I'm calling in Walter right now.
Okay.
I'll try to pass the message on if we can even get Walter right now. But I definitely want to bring Walter in on this show. It's ringing. Oh, but oh, that's all right. It's calling his Facebook. Wait a minute. Do
Hi,
we?
can you hear me?
Oh, we can definitely. Well, I can hear you. Todd can't. So, Todd, Walter says hello. He's on right now. What's
Hi,
going on,
Walter.
Walter?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
We're over here hosting the nomination. Let me double check to make sure everyone can hear you. Can you say hello to all the people out in YouTube world, Walter, that's listening?
Yes, hello, YouTube world that's
Okay.
listening.
All right, so everyone can definitely hear you. All right, so we were sitting here. We went over the entire nomination process where everyone can nominate. We definitely was talking about how that you received your lifetime achievement award in the first year. But I really wanted to call you because when it comes to telling stories, and a lot of people go, Triforce, we like you telling stories. But there's only one person I know that tells stories better than me, and that's you. So uh, there's something I want to go over real quick with everybody, and that is the history of the spirit of the history of the International Video Game Hall of Fame and where it first started for you, how it got to 2009, and then we can stop at the Big Bang because we kind of over already went over the Big Bang, and everyone knows that if you're interested in finding out more about the history of all the prior classes of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, you can only you one only needs to look to YouTube, and you could type in International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum, and it'll pop up on your your YouTube browser, and you can check, or you can check at the end of this program. I'll leave a link there for you guys to go see that program. Go to the actual Hall of Fame YouTube and check out the actual history, which we've been able to document over the years. But Walter, yes, you have the floor now. Can you tell us what inspired you to want to do the International Video Game Hall of Fame, which led to it then creating itself to what it is now?
Well, of course, people must realize that this is a special Hall of Fame. This is not just a Hall of Fame that honors designers or engineers or people who conceive the games or people who market the games. There's many different kinds of Halls of Fame out there that focus on these other kinds of industrial aspects of the gaming industry. This Hall of Fame was born, it was birthed right out of the cauldron of fierce competition of the video game capital of the world, Ottumwa. It was an expression. The idea to make the Hall of Fame was a direct expression of the fact that Ottumwa was the crossroads of competitive gaming. It was described in the media as being the mecca of video game playing, the Dodge City of video game playing.
Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, the Madison Square Garden, the octagon of video game playing, because it was where, because Ottumwa was not a test place. There was one time when it had some games on test, but we were not a test place. We were a crossroads for the player themselves. And we were a completely unique animal at that time. And because of that, that's why the industry itself, the magazines and the manufacturers, would refer interesting phone calls to Twin Galaxies and Ottumwa, because we were the ones who were representing the actual gamers of the world who are involved in not just casual playing, but actually as a sport, a competitive sport. And that's why Life magazine found us, because the manufacturer said, you have to go to Twin Galaxies, because they're the ones who had the fingers on the pulse of what it meant to be a gamer in 1982. So I was organizing contests because I was so fascinated by just the excellence, human excellence, as found in the art of video game playing. Who can actually have the broadest sense of consciousness that would allow them to dominate and beat a game, and it would be demonstrated in how high their score would get. So I started organizing contests and started, of course, putting together what now we recognize as the first infrastructure for esports. I did a big contest between California and North Carolina in the final weekend of August 1982. And as I came back, I realized that this industry was going fast, and this industry was so important because it was such an amazing entertainment venue that it truly deserved, even at that early stage, a base for the culture, a base for the community, a base for it as an art, and I thought it had to be a Hall of Fame. So in September of '82, there's still documentation left over. There were different places where letters are dated from September of '82, and news interviews are dated from September of '82, when the news first went out that Ottumwa would be the site of the Video Game Hall of Fame. So, and at that time, about 7 manufacturers responded and sent game marquees and game manuals as the first installment of stuff for the Hall of Fame, the Museum Hall of Fame, and so it was a very nice process, and it was great that we were getting all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is, to quote the famous Billy Mitchell, the truth of the matter is that even more than being a repository of the history of the games themselves, it was meant to be a repository for the gamers themselves, their accomplishments, and the amazing impact and effect that they had on the culture of that time, and the ongoing ensuing culture that's grown out of it, leading right up to today. So from the very beginning, the Hall of Fame was intended to be the cradle of competitive video game playing that documents and honors the accomplishments and the amazing cultural phenomena of being a competitive video game playing as it began to grow more and more into what is now becoming a very mature sport based on a very mature industry. So it was September of 1982 it first started. But of course, Twin Galaxies had a lot of difficulties because we were doing this with very little support out of my own pocket, and arcades all over the place began to go out of business. So it was not, and that reflected, of course, on the bottom line for all the manufacturers. So therefore, yeah, it wasn't a good time to even think of something as elaborate as a serious bricks and mortar Hall of Fame, even though it was still a vision in my mind. And by October of 1983, there were some pretty nice news stories in Cashbox Magazine, Replay, and Playmeter mentioning the Video Game Hall of Fame slated for Ottumwa. Well, but of course we have to fast forward to, because then Twin Galaxies closed simply because it could not keep its door open because there was no income. There were too many arcades in the area, and there was a game glut, and it just said fewer and fewer quarters were being spent in arcades because people also had home games. So then we'd have to fast forward to the later era of 2009 and 2010, where the Big Bang came from. But those are my initial impressions and memories of how it all began to happen, and it's just, to me, a wonderful, wonderful gift to the gamers. And that's the thing I want to impress everybody who's listening, that this is a gift. This is a gift that you want to honor and you want to make happen and give it strength by going and nominating and voting so that this gift can honor this amazing culture that you are all a part of. Because you're not independent of the culture, you are the culture, and this is your Hall of Fame as a competitive gamer.
We mentioned that earlier to people, that this is for the gamers, by the gamers. They need to understand that they play a significant role in the International Video Game Hall of Fame as compared to the other Hall of Fames. The other Hall of Fames are more commercialized and industrialized, where the main focus is the people that make the games and they make the money off of it. Whereas at the same time, it's not that they don't care about the gamers. They do, but their main focus is the industry. The International Video Game Hall of Fame is the reverse. Their main focus is the actual gamers. At the same time, they credit and recognize the industry for what it's contribute to the scene. It has to, because without the people who created the video game industry, it wouldn't have been nothing. So definitely there. But before you go, Walter, one last thing. Because I know in 2009, when you were still running Twin Galaxies had an International Video Game Hall of Fame, and I had a discussion with you, and I wanted to share this discussion, but I wanted people to hear it from you yourself. When did you first come up with the concept of Twin Galaxies having an International Video Game Hall of Fame?
Well, of course, we're talking. It's still 1982.
It was 1982. Can you go over that story real quick?
I just did.
Oh, that was a
That's
whole.
what that's what I just described.
Oh, that's what you was describing. Oh, you were describing Twin Galaxies. I didn't know that was in relations to the actual Hall of Fame. Okay,
Well,
so
it was to the actual core
mm,
concept and intention of there being a Hall of Fame for the global video game industry,
mhm,
that it would focus on the gamers, in addition to the games, but mainly want to focus on gamers. That there was from the that was what was born in 1982. It just didn't. It just couldn't. The genesis could not work out at that time because their industry was in free fall at that time.
yeah, okay, and so, but it has somehow crossed the void, and it is now here now, and it is up to us to pretty much, I guess, well, how would we say this? It's up to us to nurture the Hall of Fame. It is for the people, by the people. So I want everyone to understand that, here's a YouTube page you can go to. It is the International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum. You may see one that says International Video Game Hall of Fame. If it doesn't have that Hall of Fame icon, that is not it on YouTube, but you can check out their page here. You can just type it up, International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum. Go there, hit that subscription button, hit that bell, and every time a new video will come out regarding the history of the Hall of Fame, you guys can definitely check it out. The Hall of Fame has been supported by the people, for the people, so you guys can definitely show your support. When you either go to the www.ifghof.info, there's a donation button there. You guys can send your donations to help the Hall of Fame grow. Remember, due to the work of the people of the Ottumwa Committee, the people in City Hall, the people of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, and none other than Walter Day himself, these guys have put in their entire life's work out of their own money, blood, sweat, and tears to build this, to commemorate and preserve the history of gaming as only found in the video game capital of the world. So guys, please support, help us out. And Walter, I definitely want to thank you for joining us in on this short segment as we go over the entire nominations. We're going to take some questions from the audience, me and Todd, before we call it a night. If you guys missed this, don't worry about missing this. A director's cut version of this will be put together, and it will be posted on the International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum's YouTube page for you to guys to watch, or you can also check out the twitch.ifghof for the replay of this video. I'll also keep a copy of this on the Empire Arcadia YouTube page for everyone to be able to see. But please make sure you subscribe and support the International Video Game Hall of Fame. And Walter, as your clock says, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to let you go. But thank you for being on.
Well, one last comment. One last comment for everybody.
Sure.
Everybody sort of knows what Cooperstown looks like. Cooperstown, New York, with the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And you'll see busts, you'll see statues, bronze statues of different famous baseball players. And in Canton, Ohio, Football Hall of Fame, you'll see bronze busts. There's no other place in the world that's most likely to have bronze busts and statues of video game players other than the International Video Game Hall of Fame, because that is what its spirit is all about. It is about not just the industry, but primarily about the history and the tradition of competitive gaming, and that's why video game players, most likely in a time when it can be afforded, would have bronze busts. Who knows where else would ever happen, but probably no other place, I'd imagine. But definitely, it's something that would be on the horizon for Ottumwa. So that's why you support this. That's why everybody should support this and believe in this, and go and nominate and go and vote and just make this thing get stronger and better.
Well, actually, so let me check something out here. So you mentioned the stuff about, there being the bronze busts and all of that other stuff, and the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. But so I'm going to post a picture here on YouTube. I'm going to share it with everyone. So you say that Cooperstown, and what was the other place?
Canton, Ohio.
And Canton, Ohio, that has busts of the pioneers for those respective sports and fields. Well, if you look here, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Walter Day bust, while Walter Day is actually hugging his own bust. I have the picture
Oh,
up on. Yeah, I've actually.
you've taken me by surprise. I've been busted.
You've been definitely busted. I like that one. But and that bust is found in Ottumwa, Iowa, the birthplace of esports, the video game capital of the world, and the home to the International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum. So you guys, if you ever do come down to Ottumwa, Iowa, and you should, if you're a gamer and you want to know your history, where it all started, why you love video games and the culture and the history for what it is, every year one of these years you should give a visit to Ottumwa, Iowa, and come and join us as we celebrate the history of competitive gaming down there. But thank you for coming through, Walter. I really appreciate it.
One further comment. Since
Mhm.
you're able to put up a graphic, can you
Yeah.
put up a graphic of the bronze plaque and tell people that that's becoming a serious road trip destination for gamers to go and pose as a group in front of the bronze plaque?
So this is the bronze plaque, because I'm typing up right now, bronze plaque of Twin Galaxies as the birthplace of esports, right? I'm typing
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
birthplace of esports, right? So let's take a look see if this actually comes up here. I know it actually comes up. Um, hmm. There's various ways this actually comes up, but I think everyone wants to see the actual thing. So wait, let me see something here. We got a picture here. Oh, it's from the IFGHOF dot. I'm going to open this in a new tab here, and I'm going to grab this picture here. See, so it came out properly, but everyone can take a look here. So I'm sorry about that. You guys take a look. So this is the actual video game capital of the world bronze plaque, um, which this commemorates Twin Galaxies as a historic birthplace of organized competitive esports. Literally the birthplace. Twin Galaxies being the actual first entity and the longest standing entity that literally put down the infrastructure that turned competitive gaming into esports. This is not to be confused, because a lot of people will confuse this with Twin Galaxies being the first competitive entity out there. No, that is not true. That is not what's being said. There have been, since they made it a Pong or the first tennis for two or knots and O's, games have been competitive. In fact, once you created the first video game, it literally creates competitive gaming. Whether it's you versus the computer or you versus somebody else, that is competitive gaming. So the birth of competitive gaming is credited to the person who created the first video game. However, without an infrastructure, competitive gaming did not become a sport. And many other entities, you watch competitive gaming grow as many other entities use different types of platforms and what's the word for this here, marketing structures to try to push it, like the 1979 Space Invaders tournament, when it was trying to, hey, how can we bring Space Invaders, this arcade blockbuster, home to the console? So they hosted a 10,000 man Space Invaders tournament to promote the game, but it really didn't focus on the actual sport itself. Like, it didn't focus on actually, like, what is competitive gaming about. It didn't focus on the players. It didn't focus on the awards. It didn't focus on the accomplishments. It focused on selling the game and bringing the game from arcade to console. But when Twin Galaxies came around, Walter Day formed Twin Galaxies for the sole purpose of collecting records, awarding champions, and building that infrastructure that would host competitions that solely promoted the actual activity of competitive gaming. And that is the actual infrastructure for esports, and that is why that bronze plaque was put up there. It was commemorated, it was recognized by a number of different individuals, one of them being Guinness World Record. And that bronze plaque is, like, I don't know how, it's heavy, more heavy than any person that I know. You can't pick that up on your own.
I think it's about 220 pounds, maybe.
220 pounds. Okay, so it's about this, as heavy as certain humans. So, but it's very hard to lift, and it is literally bolted there on the wall of the building in which the former Twin Galaxies arcade used to be. So, like Walter said, that's definitely worth the trip to Ottumwa, Iowa. Get the picture. A lot of people who come to Ottumwa, Iowa, literally take a picture right next to that plaque, and that's just something that you, if you're a gamer, at some point in your life, you're gonna want to go to. But thank you, Walter. I appreciate having you on.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you very much.
so we'll talk later, Walter.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Bye,
Uh,
Walter.
good night. All right, so here we are. So that was Walter Day. Thank everybody. So yeah, it's always good to have Walter on. So we went over a little of the history and how far the Video Game Hall of Fame comes from. It comes back to the Walter Day era of Twin Galaxies, and it is now its own entity, living, breathing. The generation of the people in Ottumwa, Iowa, literally like they put it on their back, and they're like, "We got it from here, Walter." And Walter's, waving off as they walk down that road, and they got to make a movie about that. But
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
even coming to the Hall of Fame to see the people inducted, the extra part of it is to meet Walter for the first time and to talk and hear stories from him because he's just a remarkable guy.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, this is true. People, if you ever, as Todd said, Walter Day actually lives in Iowa, and every
Right.
year at the International Video Game Hall of Fame, Walter actually makes an appearance there to support the Hall of Fame. So, and I think it would be nice to know if this is something Walter does for the remainder of his life, because every time you visit the Hall of Fame, you will see Walter Day there, and it is always great to give thanks to like the pioneers and
Yep.
so forth, and not just to say Walter will be the only person. There's other gamers there,
No.
man. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of different guys that's going to be there.
Oh
um
yeah.
the past inductees such as Fatality Jonathan, Fatality Wendell has been there,
Yep.
myself, the late Joel West. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different gamers that's going to be there. So it's when you come there, you get to meet these people, and they get to give you the ancient old man stories back in my days when I used to play
Exactly.
Pong. So you can listen to
Exactly.
those stories and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
before we close this out, I want to head over here to Twitch, right? And I want to mention, take a look at some of the questions here and on Twitch and YouTube, right? In terms of the different questions asked. So here we are. So I'm taking a look at some of the questions. Let me see if we have anything here. A lot of the guys actually talking to themselves based on what we're actually talking about. Um, and they're actually having a conversation based on what we're talking about in terms of what would actually be good in the Hall of Fame, what should be inducted. And this is the type of conversation we really hope that people would actually go around talking about and so forth. But if you
Yeah.
guys
And
have,
that
go on.
I was gonna say that's the whole idea of this whole thing is to get people talking and to get people together and make this community of the Video Game Hall of Fame even larger as years go on.
Yes, as Sober Hippie says, Halo should be nominated for the historical significance in 2000. Well, Sober, you're late.
Yeah, I was
Halo
gonna
was
say,
in Halo was
yep,
inducted last year for historical
yep.
significance, so Halo definitely made it in. Here, from off the top of my head that I can remember for the class of 2017. If I can, let me see if I can.
Yeah, I just pulled it up.
Yeah, what are some of the games that was nominated for the
Eh,
that class actually?
So yeah, last year's. Oh wait, this is your class. Hold on. So we got to go to last year's class.
Mhm.
All right. So, whoops.
Because I know it was Halo, but
Yeah, I
uh
got it right here.
yeah.
So Halo was the 2000s era game.
Hmm.
Sonic the Hedgehog was the 90s. Donkey Kong was the
Was the
golden age,
Golden Age. And what was
and
Breath of the Wild?
that was the modern age
That the
game.
modern age game. So yeah. So just to let you guys know, Breath of the Wild made it in last year.
That was
And
well deserved.
well deserved.
Yeah,
Definitely well deserved. So
good game.
that also you also have to keep in mind that wait, did the uh did the Spike TV Awards? Yeah, it was last year, and I think Breath of the Wild was nominated. The Breath of the Wild was inducted into the VGA Awards Hall of Fame, and it was also inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Dice
Mm.
Summit, the interactive, the International Interactive Arts and Science Committee. So it got inducted in there, and the
Mm.
International Video Game Hall of Fame closed it out with a unanimous. So Breath of the Wild, the greatest Zelda game ever, perhaps in my opinion, one of the top three greatest video games of all time.
Yeah.
Not a franchise, not a series, but game period. I'm still playing that game today.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, I want to give you guys a couple of minutes to drop some questions here. And
Yeah. I was just going to throw out some more games that have won in the past while you're
what
finding some questions.
we have, all
Um,
right, go on. Throw out some games now for like my class and beyond, and then I'll take some of the questions then.
yeah. So your class
Mm.
inducted Super Mario Brothers, obviously well deserved Golden Age game.
Mm-hmm.
Another Legend of Zelda for the 90s was A Link to the Past. That was inducted.
Ah,
The 2000 era game was World of Warcraft. And the current era game was Minecraft, which was really big in that
mm-hmm.
year, in that period of time. Um,
Minecraft definitely deserved to be up there. Minecraft is
yeah,
crushing it. You know something? I'm wondering who will take it. Will Fortnite take modern game?
yeah. I would, based on the popularity of the playing, if the people nominate, I would think that would win, but you never know.
Yeah, you
There's
never know.
there's some other great games out there.
Okay, so we have Sober says, where can I see past nominations? Well, if you're looking for past nominations, if you look at the screen right now,
Mhm,
when you go to the International Video Game Hall of Fame site, which is ifgolf.info, just
mhm.
click on the class menu, and you'll see classes of inductees. You'll see 2010, 2015, 2016, and 2017.
Yeah,
Um,
2017 is on the home page. It's not a link yet under classes, but it will be shortly.
No, it
Very.
is. It's actually
Oh, is
there.
it there?
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
there. They actually can see it right there. So it's actually
oh, good.
there. Now here's a question. Some people I'm gonna ask for you guys. You may not know.
Go
Why
ahead.
is there a class of 2019 and there's a missing 2018? Well,
Okay, that's a great question.
yes.
I have an answer.
Take it from there. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a much a long debate we had as a committee.
Hmm.
So basically, this year, when people would get inducted for their class of 2000, let's say 17, which was last year, they were getting the award in 2018. So as people were getting inducted, they would say, "Which class were you in?" And they would say, "Well, 17." And they would say, "Well, what happened to 18?" And it would just kind of escalate from there. So we had the decision to either have 18 and 19 together as one group, or just start from scratch as we are with a committee and start with 2019, and you'll be inducted in 2019, and so on and so on. Uh, Again, just based on the different people that ran the events, the classes just didn't match up when they gave the awards, so we wanted to make it accurate going forward.
So it's pretty much just skipping a year just for accuracy purpose.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair enough. That actually makes sense. It's not
Yeah.
like anyone is losing anything.
No.
Actually, I shouldn't say it's skipping. It's
Yeah.
catching up. Actually,
Correct.
that's really what it's actually doing. It's actually
Yeah.
just catching up. So nothing, no harm, no foul
Right.
on that.
Because
So
you were inducted for the class of 2016, but that was in October of
it's
2017.
17 exactly.
Right.
So the IFGHOF had to actually catch up to itself
Right.
due to that big break, which is why you guys see the huge break between 2010 and
Right.
2015. There was a
Right.
huge break because there was a shift in a different administration, and they had to wait till a new administration come to pick it up, and then they had to fix that all up, and then
Yeah.
yeah, the 2015, 16, 17. It's skipping one year, 2019. Well, catching up one year, and we're at 2019. But
Right.
I do want to I'm looking here, so, and I would like to let people know if you guys have any questions, right? Um, you can leave your questions in the comment section of this video, or you can leave your questions when the director's cut is uploaded onto YouTube on the International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum's actual YouTube page. So we can take your questions there. I don't want to make this too long. I want to kind of bring it to a close. I was trying to keep this within an hour. But before we go, I want to actually let you guys know something regarding the nomination process. So when you guys nominate, let's say you nominate a friend or you nominate yourself, and you don't make it into the nominations, your nominations remain in a pool for 5 years.
That is correct. Yes.
So don't think that every year you have to keep renominating yourself. Once you're nominated, it's in a pool for 5 years. So the committee has 5 years to see you and determine whether or not you're eligible or to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So the most important thing is what this entire stream is about: being nominated or nominations. So it's about getting nominated. So once you get nominated, you're in a pool for 5 years, and you have 5 years to get a shot at being inducted in the Video Game Hall of Fame. So on that note, do you have anything else to say, Todd?
No, I just I'm hoping we can get this spread. Social media is huge now in this day of age. So if we can just get everyone to promote the website and get people to vote, that's all we can ask for. And like you said, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and we'll be able to answer them for you. But I thank Triforce for setting this up and doing this. We need to do this more often and get people involved in the IFGHOF community.
Oh no, definitely. I've been a huge supporter for
Absolutely.
everything that comes out of Ottumwa, Iowa. Literally, guys, I've been there. I've done the research myself. It is literally the birthplace of esports, and I'm a historian. I like historical stuff. And as a gamer, if you're talking about Ottumwa, Iowa is the Africa, it's the motherland of gaming. So this is where it all comes from. Don't let anyone else fool you guys. But thank you guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's vote and vote for more. People from Jamaica. There's so many good gamers, right, Triforce?
Oh
Jamaica.
yeah, definitely. And that's the thing I like about the International Video Game Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's literally international. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you can prove, as long as you follow the code of ethics, you pass that, and you can prove your accomplishments is worthy of you being in the International Video Game Hall of Fame. You will be nominated, and you will eventually be inducted in the International Video Game Hall of Fame. They will not forget anyone. It's like I said, for the gamers, by the gamers. They want to recognize as many gamers as they can for the contributions that they've done in gaming. But so on that note, thank you guys for joining us. We will see you guys on the next stream. And you can, like I said, subscribe to the International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum's YouTube page. You can also follow them on Twitch at twitch.ifghof. And yeah, there goes. You could get one of those shirts. They sell those shirts at the arcades. So, it's the International Video Game Hall of Fame. I have one of those shirts. I couldn't. It's actually in the laundry, so I wore the hat. So, but they have a lot of merchandise and stuff like that. I look forward to seeing you guys at the IFGHOF later on this year. Thank you guys for watching. Good night.
Good night.